Before I say a single word about family, I want you to do something with me. Close your eyes for just 3 seconds. Think of one person, not the most famous person you know, not the most successful person you know, just the first face that shows up in your mind when I say the word home. Got it? Chances are that face wasn't a celebrity. It wasn't your boss. It wasn't even your best friend from school. For most of us, that face belongs to family: a mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent, a partner, a child. And that's strange when you think about it. We live in a world obsessed with achievement. We chase promotions, followers, degrees, bank balances. We are told again and again that success is something you build alone, brick by brick, through sheer willpower. But when life gets quiet, when the phone stops buzzing and the applause fades, it's almost never a trophy that comes to mind. It's a person, it's family. Today, I don't want to give you a lecture about family. I want to have a conversation, the kind you'd have with someone you trust late at night when the masks come off. I want to talk about what family really is, why it's harder now than it's ever been, and why it still matters more than almost anything else, and what we can actually do starting today to protect it. So, let's begin. Part 1: What family actually is. Ask 10 people to define family, and you will get 10 different answers: blood, marriage, the person who raised you, the people who chose you. And honestly, all of those answers are right because family isn't really a legal category or a bloodline chart. Family is the small group of people who are unreasonably invested in your life. People who will lose sleep over your problems that don't even affect them. People who will drop what they are doing at 2 a.m. because you called and your voice sounded wrong. Think about it. A stranger will walk past you 1,000 times and feel nothing. But your mother can tell something is off just from the way you say, I'm fine, over the phone. That's not magic. That's years, decades of paying attention, of being present, of choosing again and again to notice you. That's the real definition of family. People who choose to keep noticing you long after the rest of the world has stopped. And here's something we don't say enough: family isn't always the people you are born into. Sometimes the family you are born into causes the deepest wounds, and the family you build, friends, mentors, chosen relationships, becomes your real home. Family, in its truest sense, isn't about shared DNA, it's about shared responsibility. It's about showing up. I think of my own family and I think of the small, almost invisible things. Not the big celebrations, though those matter, but the ordinary Tuesday evenings. Someone saving the last piece of your favorite food without being asked. Someone remembering the name of a person you mentioned once in passing months ago. Someone sitting with you in silence because words aren't needed. Family is built in these tiny, unglamorous moments. Nobody posts them online. Nobody claps for them, but they are the actual architecture of love. There is a reason grief hits hardest when it comes to family. When we lose someone we love, we don't just mourn a person, we mourn a version of ourselves that only existed around them. The child self that only your mother could see. The sibling self that only exists next to your brother or sister. Family holds pieces of us that we can't access alone. So when I ask, what is family? My honest answer is this: family is the mirror that shows you who you really are and the shelter that lets you fall apart safely and the foundation that lets you go out into the world and take risks because you know that no matter how badly things go out there, there's a place that will still take you in. Part 2: Why family is harder today than ever before. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth: family, as beautiful as it is, has never been under more pressure than it is right now. We live faster than any generation before us. We are more connected than any generation before us. And yet, study after study shows we are lonelier than any generation before us. That's not a contradiction. That's the whole problem. Think about a normal evening in most homes today. Everyone's physically in the same house, but look closer. The teenager is one room scrolling, the parent is in another room answering work emails at 9 p.m. because the job never really ends anymore. Someone else is watching a show alone with headphones in. Four people, one roof, four separate universes. We used to eat together because there was nothing else to do. Now, eating together requires a deliberate decision, a rule, almost because there's a thousand other things pulling us away. Work doesn't stop at 5 p.m. anymore. It follows us home in our pockets. Entertainment doesn't require anyone else anymore. A screen can keep a person occupied for hours without human being involved at all. And it's not just time, it's attention. Even when families are together, they are often not really together, half present. One eye at the conversation, one eye on the conversation, one eye on the notification. And here's the tragedy: kids notice, partners notice, parents notice. Everyone feels the difference between being in the room and being with you. Distance has changed things too. Migration, jobs, opportunities, families today are more spread out across cities, countries, continents than ever before. Video calls are a gift our grandparents never had, and we should be grateful for them. But a video call, however wonderful, cannot replace a hand on your shoulder when you're crying, or someone physically there when you are sick, or a warm meal made by someone who knows exactly how you like it. Add to this the pressures of modern life, the cost of living, the anxiety about the future, the comparison trap of social media where everyone else's family looks perfect in photos. It creates a quiet erosion, not a dramatic collapse. Nobody announces we are drifting apart. It just happens slowly, silently, until one day you realize You haven't had a real conversation with someone you love in weeks, and you can't quite explain why. This is the honest picture. Modern life doesn't destroy families with one big blow, it wears them down with a thousand small distractions. But, and this is important, understanding the problem is the first step to solving it. We are not powerless here. Family isn't dying, it's just competing for attention against forces it's never had to compete against before. And once we understand that, we can fight for it intentionally the same way we fight for anything that matters. Part 3: Why family still matters more than anything else. So, why fight for it? Why does family deserve that fight when there are a thousand other things demanding our energy? Here's why. Family is the only relationship in your life that doesn't require you to perform. At work, you perform competence. On social media, you perform a curated version of happiness. With acquaintances, you perform politeness. But with the real family, the kind built on trust, you get to just exist. Tired, messy, unfiltered, and still loved. This is an extraordinarily rare gift in a world that constantly demands we be on. Family is also where resilience is built. Every person who has achieved something meaningful in life, if you ask them honestly, will point to someone in their family, a parent who believed in them when no one else did, a sibling who talked them off a ledge, a grandparent whose one sentence of wisdom still echoes in their head decades later. We like to celebrate the individual genius, the self made success story. But scratch the surface of almost any success story, and you will find a family in the background, quietly making it possible. There's research on this too. Psychologists have studied what actually predicts long term happiness, and again, the strongest predictor isn't income, isn't fame, isn't even health on its own. It's the quality of our close relationships, and family sits on the center of that. Not family as a perfect, conflict free fantasy, but family as a real, ongoing, sometimes messy commitment to a group of people who have your back. And think about legacy. Not legacy in the grand historical sense. Not everyone builds a company or writes a book that lasts generations, but almost everyone leaves a legacy through family. The values you pass down, the way you handled hardship that your children quietly absorbed, the stories that get retold at gatherings for decades after you are gone. That is legacy too. Maybe the most honest kind there is, because it isn't curated for an audience, it's simply who you were, remembered by the people who knew you best. Family also teaches us the one skill almost nothing else teaches: how to love people who are difficult. Anyone can be kind to a stranger for 20 minutes. It's easy to be patient with someone you'll never see again, but learning to love a parent who frustrates you, a sibling who disagrees with your entire worldview, a partner on their worst day, that teaches patience, forgiveness, and grace that nothing else in life can teach quite the same way. Family is where we practice being fully human, flawed people, loving other flawed people on purpose every single day. And finally, and I say this gently because it's heavy, family matters because time is not infinite. Every phone call with a parent, every ordinary Sunday with siblings, every bedtime story with a child is a number that is counting down, whether we acknowledge it or not. We don't get unlimited moments with the people we love. One day, one of those ordinary moments will be the last one, and we won't know it at the time. That's not meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. The way it wakes all of us up eventually, usually too late. That's why family matters more than almost anything else. Because it is rare, because it is resilient, because it shapes who we become, and because quietly, relentlessly, it is finite. Part 4, what we can actually do about it. So let's move from feeling to action. What do we actually do with all of this? First, protect small, ordinary time, not just big occasions. We tend to invest huge energy into birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, the big photographed moments. Those matter, but family isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the small, boring, repeated ones, a 10-minute phone call every evening, a shared meal without phones on the table, a Sunday morning that's protected on purpose from work and errands. Pick one small ritual and defend it like it's sacred, because it is. Second, say the things out loud. So many of us assume our family just knows we love them. We assume it's understood. But assumption is not the same as expression. Say it, text it, write it in a card even if it feels awkward. Tell your mother she raised you well. Tell your father you noticed his sacrifices. Tell your siblings you are proud of them. Tell your partner specifically what you are grateful for today. Not generically, specifically. Words spoken out loud land differently than words merely felt. Third, be curious about the people you think you already know. This is one of the quiet tragedies of long term relationships. We stop asking questions because we assume we already have all the answers. But people change. Your parents had dreams before you were born that you may have never asked about. Your children are becoming someone new every single year. Ask real questions. What was the hardest year of your life and what got you through it? What do you wish I understood about you? You will be amazed at what you learn about people you have known your entire life. Fourth, repair quickly. Don't let distance calcify. Every family member has conflict. That's not a sign of failure. That's a sign of two real people with real opinions living real lives together. The families stay close aren't the ones who never fight. They are the ones who don't let a fight turn into 6 months of silence. Be the one who calls first. Be the one who says, I don't want this distance between us, even if you are not entirely sure who was right. Pride has ended more family closeness than almost anything else. Fifth, put the phone down when it matters most. This one is simple to say and hard to do. So I'll say it plainly. The next time you're with family, put the phone somewhere you can't see it for 1 hour. Not because technology is evil, it isn't, but because presence is the most valuable thing you can give another human being. And it's the easiest thing to accidentally steal from them. Sixth, document the ordinary, not just the extraordinary. Record your grandmother telling a story. Film your father laughing at something silly. Save the voice notes. Write down the sayings your mother repeats. We photograph weddings and vacations obsessively, but the most precious footage years from now will be the ordinary Tuesdays. Someone's real voice, real laugh, real presence, because that's what we actually miss when someone is gone. None of this requires money, none of this requires a perfect family. It just requires intention, choosing family actively on ordinary days, not just when a crisis forces us to remember what matters. Closing. Let me leave you with this. One day, and I say this not to frighten you, but to focus you, one day the people who make up your family will not be a phone call away anymore. One day that number you can dial anytime you want will simply not connect to anyone. One day the chair at the table will just be a chair. We know this. We all know this. And yet we live life most days as if we have unlimited time, postponing the visit, delaying the phone call, saving the honest conversation for someday. I want to challenge you, not with guilt, but with love, to close that gap today, not next month, today. Call the person you have been meaning to call. Say the thing you have been meaning to say. Show up for the small, unremarkable Tuesday, not just the big anniversaries. Put the phone down for one real hour. Ask one question to someone you love and actually listen to the answer. Because in the end, when the achievements fade and the applause stops and the notifications go quiet, what remains is the people who stayed, the people who noticed you, the people who showed up. That's family. Not a perfect group of people, not a conflict free fairy tale, just a group of imperfect, ordinary, deeply human people who choose again and again to love each other anyway. So go home tonight, look at the people around you, and choose them on purpose, out loud, starting right now. Thank you.